let's talk liquidity, right? So liquidity is very important, right? So there's two ways we could think of liquidity. One, as a drawn liquidity, right? Drawn liquidity. Two, as an area where price will reverse or retrace to at least, right? So what do I mean by that? So here on NAS, we see this as our drawn liquidity, right? It's very obvious this is our drawn liquidity, right? Nothing crazy, right? We're not, predicting anything. We just know this will most likely get hit. Why? Higher time frame, right? We're still expecting price to come down here, right? Respecting bearish order flow, whatever, right? Very simple. This is our drawn liquidity. Now, as we, press play, what happens here? We get a sweep of the previous candle low, right? And every time we take some liquidity, we usually retrace to what? A fair value gap, right? So this is my internal liquidity, right? So this is still a liquidity, right? So why? It's just a fair value gap? No, right? Your fair value gaps are also liquidity, right? Let's look at this in the 1 hour, right? Equal highs, right? So on, right? So we have, let's still create a story. So reached liquidity. So, swept these lows here, which is, just our daily candle lows, right? Then we see a expansion higher. Expansion to where? Will most likely retrace to these highs, right? So now if I go to, the 15-minute or the 5-minute, whatever, right? And I say, all right, this high will get hit, whatever, right? It sounds like I know what I'm talking about. It sounds like, all right, this guy knows liquidity, whatever, right? But in reality, it's just a higher time frame, a fair value gap, right? So let's continue. So that is our area where price will retrace to. Now we go on the 1 hour, right? This high is our interest, right? We also have this high as our other interest, right? Continue with the 1 hour, right? Here, after we sweep those daily lows, we do not get a retracement just like that. Why? There's still no fair value gap, right? This becomes a 1 hour IDR, right? So I'll just write that down, 1 hour IDR. So if we know this is a 1 hour IDR, price will most likely either not hold or rather get swept. We could just wait for this, right? So this is another form of liquidity, right? This is probably a 4 hour candle, previous candle sweep, right? Exactly, right? So notice how I'm simplifying everything. So we have, instead of, being on the 5-minute, you'd be like, all right, I don't know if this liquidity is going to get ran, then this, then maybe this, or maybe this, right? You're just taking too many L's here, right? You might have a limit here, 1 loss, 2 loss, 3 loss, maybe 4 loss, right? There's no point of doing all that. So our 1 hour IDR, which is this low, is also our 4 hour previous candle low, right? So after we see that, now we could actually continue with our narrative, right? All right. So now we have a reason to go bullish, right? So now our 1 hour and 4 hour make sense. Let's continue. What do we see here? Fair value gap, right? What's overlapping with? Right? Breaker block, right? So here is another area where you want to get involved, right? If you want to continue this bullish price action to this high, this fair value gap, right? Or lower time frame, equal tops or equal highs, whatever, right? Let's continue. After we sweep, or after we reach our fair value gap here, right? We can confirm that in a 5-minute, right? So, right, we go there. We take out these internal liquidity too. So this is a total soup right there, right? That's your total soup, right? So you can even have a limit here, right? Adjust your stop loss accordingly, right? Depending on your data or who teaches you, right? After we reach our 1 hour POI, right? What do we see? We see a clear displacement. Now we don't have to enter on this displacement yet. What we can rather do is wait, right, for a IDR or just any low in this context to get swept, right? So now this low, right, if there's no fair value gaps, right, so I want to see a retracement and a fair value gap and then enter off that FVG or, right, it does this, right, building this liquidity, no fair value gap here, so IDR, right, sweeps, then we get the retracement high, right? So that's what I would be looking for. You don't have to enter this straight away, right? This mitigation, like, you don't have to. You can, but I always like to reconfirm. So most likely rollover period here, right? Choppy price action, perfect. We get a clear displacement lower, right? I wouldn't say clear, right? But we see, lower prices. That's fine. What's it doing? Taking all this liquidity. Now these liquidities make sense, right? Because we have a bullish bias, right? We have, no really clear displacement and clear bullish structure, right? This isn't bullish structure. This is choppy structure, right? You can wait for these to get swept, as it does. Now we just wait for a displacement higher, right? And we can enter off that. So continue price, right? Now we see a displacement higher. We have no fair value gaps yet, so we're just waiting. We're waiting, right? Alright, now we see clear displacement, right? Instead of getting involved here, right? Instead of FOMOing here, you just gotta wait, right? We've taken these liquidity, right, as we spoke about earlier, IDR, right? So it makes sense for this to get swept. Then we get bullish structure. Now we could just enter on a fair value gap mitigation, right? Like that. Stop loss there, right? Or here, wherever you guys want to do it, right? And then as price goes higher, our TP will be up there, right? It's nothing crazy, Does price come to mitigate? We get tapped in, right? And, there we go. Our first TP, right, would be this high, right? Because why? As you can see, as price action gets messy, right, we have no clear displacement higher. There is reason for price to come down lower, and it can take us out, right? It can take this out, whatever, right? So here I would have my first TP there and even go break even, right? So if it does take this lower, I could re-enter, right? Because I've already made my money, right? I don't want to risk price coming down and take me out, right? So I would go break even, right? I usually just, go for 2R, so something like that, that's fine, right? I like to play safe, right? But, if you're a bit more aggressive, you can put your stop loss there, whatever, right? We have IDR here, so we assume this would get swept, and then we'll just wait on another reformation of bullish structure, right? So, let's follow price. Alright, so it does, yeah. So it would have taken us out, right? Or you got to break even, whatever. That's fine. Now, as we take all this liquidity, we can see. Now we can anticipate on bullish price action, right? Right. So here, fair value gap mitigation. You could have entered off that. That would be a nice entry, right? Or you could just wait for another one, right? If you do get one. So here, that could have been a nice entry, and now your target will be this, right? That fair value gap. Even though you've got a wide stop loss, you're still making money, right? So after we take out all this liquidity, there's no reason for price to come back down, right? So I hope that makes sense on how we use liquidity, right? Liquidity is used as a way where price and time can kind of catch up. So liquidity is used for price to catch up, right? So after we get, some sort of bullish action, some sort of bullish or bearish price action, right? Price will usually just retrace and just take some liquidity, right? That liquidity is usually just a high time frame fair value gap, or usually just a IDR, right? So out of these trades, say you took 50% off at that high or something, right? I always say always take TP at these highs, always. And this is a clear example why, right? Even though it's up here, I always TP up there, right? So say you say you got a 2R from this, right? Now the 2R from here. That's 4R, you know, and they weren't even risky trades, right? We waited for everything to make sense. Here, there was no reason for price to come down lower, right? Here, there was no reason for price to come down lower, right? And this is probably just a 4-hour fair value gap also. Okay. Right, so we had no reason for price to, you know, come down lower, right? Everything made sense. Price swept the 1 hour IDR2, right? So you swept 15 hour and 1 hour IDR2, right? So, you know, so even if we were looking at the 1 hour, we could have got involved here actually, right? We could have got involved there, right?